My name is John Ferner, and I wanted to welcome you to the Vivid webinar today, Reduce Time to Value with Automated Discovery and Service Model Maps using HP software. We thank you so much for spending time with us this morning to review this solution and how you can drive value for yourselves and your organization. This webinar is brought to you by Vivid as well as by HP. Please notice the hashtag here on Twitter that you can follow up and track information. We'll provide a little bit more information about that and the opportunity for you to use that here shortly. In terms of introductions, my name is John Ferner. I'm the president and founder of Results Positive. I've been specializing in IT transformation for the last 15 years, and for the last 10 years as Results Positive as a platinum partner, helping customers get value out of their software investments, but more importantly, helping them achieve their personal and organizational goals and objectives. We have a great panel with us today. We have Mark Bradley, Product Marketing Manager with HP. Mark's one of the sponsors today, so we really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with him and his sponsorship. Mark comes to us with great experience here across the HP portfolio. He's managed product development and product management for multiple products. He's also been a contributing author to Implementing Service and Support Process, a Practical Guide. So I'd like to welcome Mark today. We also have Sandeep Parmar. He is a Senior Solution Architect as part of the Results Positive Operation Practice. Sandeep comes to us with hands-on operational experience, as well as many years helping customers get value out of their operations solutions and processes, specifically around the foundational component here with the CMDB and now with automated service modeling. So for just a second here, I'd like to turn it over to Mark Bradley to talk about a series of webinars and some of the promotions that he and his team are providing.
Great. Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone. We're excited that you're here, and thanks for taking time. We're running this is part of a series of webinars. We've got webinars between now and all the way in through HP Discover, and later on in the presentation, I'll share with you the schedule, and we'll proceed from there. And what we'd like to do is take advantage of a little bit of social media using the hashtag HPDiscover-CMS. And then as you see things that are presented that you like, that you want to share, that you want to have have a positive opinion about, or some ideas, feel free to put that on social media, and then we'll randomly pick folks and offer Amazon gift cards. So we're excited that you're here. We want to share the news, and we'll proceed from there. So thanks again, and John, back to you.
Thanks so much, Mark. First, just a couple of general housekeeping items for everyone. Please recognize that this is a live session. They'll be recorded and then made available to all Vivid members after the session today. Also, you are provided with a question panel, so feel free to take advantage of that to ask any questions. We want to make sure that this is giving you answers to some of your technical questions, hence the focus today around the technical expertise as well as providing hands-on demonstration of the technology. One of the other things that we wanted to do as well is to give you a chance to provide us a little background information so we can be better prepared as we go through today's presentation and demonstration. Mark, you had a few questions that you wanted to ask the audience?
Sure. Let's go ahead and kick off the poll, and let's look at the first one here. Do you currently use HP ASM? All right. So it's just a simple yes, no, and it's in our future, and it looks like great. I can see the tabulations. We got about 65%, 66. I want to get it right up to about 70, 75 if I could. We're right at 69. So, oh, there we go. 70, 71. Great. So it looks like a lot of folks are joining us to learn more, and it's part of the future. So let's go ahead and close the poll. Let's take a look. So John, based on your experience in the industry, working with customers around the world, how does this go against what you've been seeing? Or can you see the poll?
I can't see the poll, Mark.
Okay. So there's 21% say yes, 59% say no, and about 20% it's in our future.
Yeah, Mark. So that's definitely in line with what we're seeing with customers. So I see that that's going to be accelerating here shortly as the technologies come out and as it's had the last couple of releases. So I think this next couple of quarters, you're going to have a lot more uptake in using the technology with some of the new releases.
Great. Let's go with one more, if we could. Let's go with, do you currently use HP Universal Discovery? And again, it's a yes, no, it's in our future. And in here, I think based on what we're seeing in the early results, we have quite a few folks that are utilizing HP Universal Discovery. All right, so we're about to 75, 77. There we go, 78. Great. So let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and close that poll. And we have about 66% that say yes, 13% that say no, and 22% it's in our future plans.
Mark, that supports what we're seeing. A lot of customers have been using Universal Discovery or previous versions of Universal Discovery for quite some time. So I think the combined of Universal Discovery is obviously something in the future for others. So right in sync with what we're experiencing in the field with customers.
Sounds good. Okay, well, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks so much, Mark. We appreciate that, and want to thank everyone for answering the poll questions today. I want to provide just a brief introduction to Results Positive, introduce the automated service model, and talk a little about what we're going to cover today, and really just give all the time over to Sandeep so he can actually jump into the solution and really walk you through how to perform a top-down automated service model. So in terms of Results Positive, we really focus on business technology solutions and cover the different domains across IT, which we'll highlight here shortly. We do provide consulting services anywhere from upfront strategy and assessments all the way through to implementations and training. We also provide application development. So this is building custom web apps, custom mobile apps. It's also building solutions to augment and to take advantage of HP's software. And we also provide managed services for customers that are looking for SaaS or looking for an ability to have an ongoing service in support of their software investments. In terms of the areas that we specialize in, project and application portfolio management, really helping on the strategy side decide where to invest and then be able to track and monitor the ability to achieve those investment results. Also then focusing in on the service management, having that central place for service requests to come in and then being able to provide that service. And we all know that change impact analysis here associated with the CMDB as one key component, and that's where the automated service model comes into play by creating those service maps. We talked a little about application development and management, and in this space we support not only doing development but also helping organizations plan and understand their requirements, focus in on test management as well as then text execution from a automated functional testing perspective as well as a load testing perspective. And next we help customers really monitor how they're doing, how they're monitoring their delivery of services, how they're monitoring delivery of business transactions, as well as just the core infrastructure. And then we also help customers drive productivity gains through automation, private cloud, hybrid cloud, etc. In terms of our consulting service offerings, we really focus in on looking at the strategy, understanding the goals and objectives of our customer, are focused on helping them meet their personal as well as their organizational goals. And then from there, establishing that joint blueprint and roadmap and assisting them through the process to design and roll out new processes, process enhancements, apply the technology, and then assist with the organizational change and training. So what I wanted to do next here is provide a brief introduction to HP's automated service model technology, give everyone an overall view of that as we then jump into the actual demonstration. As we mentioned here for the title of today's webinar, it's all about accelerating time to value. And we will look at that in a couple of different ways. So one is, how do I create more value for myself, say as someone that's supposed to build service maps. So that's providing me with technology so I can build a service map quicker. And then I can start focusing on higher value activities. I can start focusing on impact analysis and really supporting the business. Next, I can really assist in ensuring that the models are correct, analyzing those models based on discovery, as well as then tweaking those models. And then overall, the time to value means that I can have a service model active and available much quicker. I can then start improving mean time to repair. I can start really improving the delivery of services against those applications, against those services much quicker. And so that's really where what to look at here is this accelerated time to value for automated service modeling is a foundation component which accelerates the higher levels of value in the organization. So in terms of what we'll be highlighting today, we're going to be highlighting these first two areas here when it comes to overall service models and how to set up your service model. So first we're going to focus here on the automated service model solution, and that's where you can have that top-down approach to really identify an application, identify a service, and be able to use the technology of discovery and mapping and have the system to automate that process for you. Next, here in the middle, we'll actually highlight and provide a demonstration on the assisted service model. So not a lot of customers understand that model, but that's also available. And so that's a template-based framework that can assist you in further accelerating the development of custom service models that you might not be able to automate. And then most everyone probably understands or has worked with the standard discovery mapping process where you can use automated discovery, but then doing some of the manual correlation and mapping. And so what we're going to highlight today is how you can accelerate value using the automated service model as well as the assisted service model. So just a brief overview here on the service model itself, and this is the top-down automated approach. So the ability to really create this automated service model really streamlines your level of effort in setting up a service model which can be used for the business. So one way you can do this is starting at the entry point of that particular service, as you can see here on the right. So how does an end user typically access that particular service or that application? So I can start at a URL point and then turn it over to discovery. It'll do the automated mapping. At that point, then I can evaluate the results of that automated map, and then I can make tweaks and updates, and then I can apply automation to keep that updated. So that's a high-level flow, if you will, for the top-down automated service model. There's another approach here, too. Instead of just using the URL approach, you can also use and select the enterprise application approach as well, which we'll highlight. So overall here, it's all about reducing time to value. It's about adding richness to your service maps, which is going to then drive value in your change impact analysis on your service delivery, your customer service. And then on the event management side, you can use that then to reducing your mean time to repair, as well as giving you an ability to correlate and focus on the core root problems versus the symptoms. So this is a foundational component that can really drive overall value as you manage your services. we wanted to also provide you with some information about the different technologies. So from an automated service mapping perspective, here are the currently supported technologies. So as a part of the process that you go through in setting up your automated service model is to kind of assess that service and the associated applications, understand the technologies associated that would be best fit and supported here from an automated service model perspective. Next, as we mentioned before, there's enterprise application templates. And so this is another way to allow for that automated service modeling by starting with specific application templates. These templates will be growing over time, but these are some common enterprise applications, and this allows you to quickly map those applications. Next, just to let everyone know that the Automated Service Model 10.21 recently came out, and if I were to steal the thunder of HP Product Management, the big thing here is it's 5 times faster, and we should be able to see that a little bit today in our demo environment, even though that's challenging to do in a demo environment, but we should be able to see that. And we can see here that we've got some new TCP-based ASM discovery, some enhanced configuration file discovery, as well as some additional technologies. So we see these additional capabilities here is helping to drive more customers using the solution and getting that value. Next here, and I'm going to turn it right over to Sandeep here. I kind of walked through this earlier, kind of the 4-step process here to create your automated service model. And in terms of starting points, when you have a chance to start, you've got 2 starting points, so your URL as well as your enterprise application. So if we could turn it over to Sandeep now and move to the
all right, thank you, John.
So Sandeep, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, John. Really excited to get started with our first use case today, which is to discover an application with a top-down ASM or automated service modeling approach. So what we're going to do in our first use case today is to define the entry point, which typically for an application could be a URL or starting front-end server for my Exchange application or some of the other applications. So in our use case, we'll use URL, and we'll start the modeling process and wait for the map to populate automatically all the different topology information related to the application. So we have in our demo environment a WebSphere application that we are going to use the top-down discovery for. So out of the top-down automated service map, you could actually build your maps based on how you want to consume them. So you could be looking at a map from a very high-level perspective, looking at, okay, what are the high-level topology configuration items for my business application or business service. But at the same time, the map also allows you to kind of provide you a drill-down view into details of your application components, network components, or storage elements. And we'll talk about that once we are in the demo by showing the layered view of the application map. So typically, these are the steps that are critical for preparation for your ASM modeling approach. Of course, you select a business service that you want to model, and then you validate. As John mentioned in one of the previous slides, there are supported technologies that ASM features supports today, and those technologies keep on adding with their latest content packs, releases. So always look for the release notes and ensure that the technology used by the service is supported by the ASM feature. And then also, it's determine what is the service map purpose. Well, whether we are discovering the map from a generalized topology perspective, or we are looking to cater a specific user request from a database perspective, or any other application topology components, or to enhance our processes such as impact analysis and so forth. And of course, you collect the URL information or whatever your starting point could be for your application. As I mentioned earlier, typically URL is a pretty good starting point for most of the applications, web applications. And then also, it's important that we secure our access credentials. So knowing about the topology of the application from your general application mapping exercises is pretty good, and you're prepared for the credentials that you expect the application to query to. So things like load balancers, maybe app layer, web layer, and the underlying infrastructure. So it's good to be prepared with that. And then finally, pick up the service layers that you want to use in order to accomplish your purpose of your mapping exercise. That was the bullet number 3 over on this slide. With that, without wasting any further time, I'll quickly jump on to our demo environment. So I'm logged into UCMDB 1020 using latest browser 4.02, and I'm pushed onto the service modeling dashboard. So here on the service modeling dashboard, you would see that I have all the services and applications that are being modeled listed. So they have typical information that what is the business criticality, who's the owner, stakeholder information, and we'll get into details of how to enter those information. On my left, I have this green button which says Create Service Model. So I click on that. So it provides me this option to select my entry point. So the default option selected is the URL entry point, but if I do a draw or select this drop down here, I would see that there are different perspectives for different applications that come out of the box. And this list keeps on increasing, and you could actually build your own perspectives as well. But what this allows you to do is, for well-known applications such as Exchange or SharePoint, Active Directory, or some of the Oracle apps, to really provide a customized map to those well-known applications. But in this case, we are just going to use the URL entry point, and I'm just going to enter the URL for my application real quick. And with that, we can, on the right-hand side, we can check the availability of the URL right away from the tool itself. So this is, again, to ensure that your discovery probes or universal discovery probes are actually able to reach the URL before you actually start your discovery activities. Further, you have this hyperlink over here which says More Properties, and it's an optional. You can actually start modeling right from here, but I highly recommend to use the Additional Properties tab here to provide a name to your business application. You can do that later as well. You can rename your configuration items in the ASM, but I would highly recommend that you enter that before you actually start your modeling. So in this case, for my application, I'm going to enter new plans. And in the CI type, you will actually see we can select what kind of modeling we are doing, whether we are modeling in a business application or a business service or an infrastructure service. In my case, I'll select business application, but you have different options to select there. In the ownership dropdown, I can select the owner for my application. In this case, I'll select Chris. And this list is actually populated by the CI type person in your configuration management database. Same thing for the stakeholders. Again, the list is already populated for me. I just need to select from the dropdown that is available. And then the business criticality is something which I can also define right away. If this is platinum or gold, depending upon what kind of business service it is, I can also select the criticality. For this, I'm just going to select medium. And then I can also add the description to my application service model to say, okay, any other user is going to access this model, they would actually know what this application model is supposed to do. So I'm just going to write a note, this is a finance application. And in the category, you can select the deployment type of your application. So whether it's a test environment application, dev, prod, you could actually make that category or select that category here. I'm just going to do draft for our demo purposes. And then once I have filled out all this information, I'll just click on Start Modeling button here. And in the back end, what we'll do is that it will kick off or request the probes to actually go out there and start creating those or activating those discovery activities. As you would see on the right-hand side top corner, I got a success message, and right away the ASM feature created a business application CI for me. So that's pretty much what it knows about the application at this time when you actually kick off. On the left-hand side, you have this discovery tab that you could actually click. This is drop down again. That actually shows you your discovery activity in the real time. So you're actually tracking what is happening with your discovery activities. So at this point in time, it says there is 0 out of 1 task being completed. Keep in mind that this is more of a spiral discovery approach that UCMDB or Universal Discovery takes. So I may be kicking off just an IP discovery at the first point, but once I get results out of the first discovery, I may kick off additional 3 more activities to discover further elements that I have got back from as a result of my first discovery. So as you would see, these tasks will actually keep on increasing as you move forward or as you give it more time to discover. So typically talking about with the new ASM 10.21 enhancement feature, you could actually be looking at a timeline between 5 to 20 minutes to actually typically discover most of your application elements and dependencies. Also within the same UI, you could actually look at if there are any discovery issues, you would actually be reported over here in the same UI. So you don't have to actually go to the admin UI of UCMDB to actually troubleshoot any of the discovery issues. Now, as you see, we pretty much discovered the WebSphere application and the running software and some of the Oracle instances. Although, the discovery is still running on the left, and we might discover some of the additional components, and this map could actually keep in progress, could be a working model in progress till the time it finalizes all the discovery jobs that it needs to run. But the overall value, it's really reducing your time to value to actually do something like this, but by using the ASM feature. So from there, now I see that I have the topology being discovered, and I can actually, while the discovery jobs are running in the backend, I can actually do some of the additional, I can take some additional actions right away, really depending upon what the purpose of my map is. So as an example, to look at the additional information about my CIs and the topology that have been discovered, I can click on History Changes. And this will actually provide a number at the bottom of my CIs that, okay, how many changes have been discovered over a period of time, and that you can customize that period of time for that particular CI. So I can drill down into this number right here, and it will actually list down for me whether it's in changes related to relationships of the CI, or it is actually the changes in an attributes that are part of that CI. So pretty cool that I can actually run those kind of, get those kind of additional information right away. And as you could see that there are different additional informations that are available as well. So for example, monitored versus not monitored nodes or CIs, requests for changes, assuming that we have an integration with the ITSM to populate that information in the CMDB. Next, I wanted to show the layers perspective to the application map. So we talked about earlier that we have the purpose of the map. So within the same map, I could actually create multiple perspectives. Typically or traditionally, you have been doing that using your modeling studio. You would actually create perspectives and then have them available for your end users or end customers. From the browser itself, you could do pretty much the same thing. You have pre-built add layers. You could actually use them to drill down into specific areas of your application topology. So for example, if I want to look at what are the OS nodes that are being consumed or are part of this particular application. So I select that and I click on Show Layers. That is actually going to populate for me the connected nodes or the nodes that are actually being used by the application. So straight away, I get a result that this is the Windows node that is being part of that application. It's running this WebSphere application server on it, and that also has a direct relationship with some of the Oracle instances in the listeners. And also, I have this another node, which so far I just know the IP address of it. And from further discoveries, I may have some additional information about what that node is doing. But from where the level we are with the discovery here, we know that there is a dependency on this node. So depending upon if that is on your IP ranges or you have the appropriate permission for that node, you would further be able to get more details on that. Similarly, John mentioned earlier that there is, with the new ASM feature, you have the new TCP information populated within your service model. So I'm going to select service connection point. So what's that going to provide me is what are my active TCP connections on my CI. So for example, on this WebSphere application server, I see that it's actually an active connection on port 1521, which is probably consumed by an Oracle node. And I can actually see that direct relationship in here for an example. So a lot of different stuff, a lot of cool stuff you could actually do from show layers. You can actually drill down to the networking components, storage components. Really depends upon how deeper you want to discover or keep your maps to be at what detail level you want to go with your maps. So I'm going to close and move out to our back to our application map. So on the left-hand side, I see that the discovery is finished, and it says finished with the errors. So I'm going to click on what are those errors. So on the right-hand side, it shows me that there's a connection timeout happening on this particular Oracle CI. So I further drill down into it. So it says it's trying to telnet, and the connection to the remote agent, or basically the telnet connection, is timing out. And this could be typically due to maybe a firewall or maybe a credential issue. So I can right away from the UI send that email notification to the administrator to actually look into the problem and get the access level fixed for me. So I think that's a really added value where you could actually manage all your discoveries pretty much end to end from the same UI. All right, that's pretty much that I had for the top-down discovery for our first use case. I'm going to move back to our presentation and get started with the assisted service model, which is our second use case for the presentation today. So in our first use case, what we did, we discovered these different CIs. We created an application CI, and we discovered some of the software elements that are part of our application, and we also discovered some of the infrastructure elements. Now, typically, the way we would have modeled it in our UCMDB is using Modeling Studio to then create models by writing some TQLs and grouping the CIs under a container. What assisted modeling in the UCMDB browser allows you to do is actually create those models on the fly without actually gaining any expertise of how to write down TQLs and to work with the admin UI. I think it really simplifies overall process of modeling your applications. Again, it goes back to our agenda for today is to reduce your overall time to value, to start consuming the information as soon as possible. Again, you can actually use the layers feature. Again, you could pretty much use the same features that we saw on the ASM top-down discovery to actually consume the information from your modeled application. And to the point, they also come with the out-of-the-box templates that you could select from a drop-down, that how you want to view your application topology. And we'll drill down into that once we go back to our environment. All right. So here's the steps you would typically take to create your service model. So you basically, the first step is to actually select a CI which you want to model. Or you can actually start from scratch. You just start from scratch with a template and then select your CI. So anyway, either ways, you could actually get started. And once you have finalized your CIs and the template you're actually going to use, then you add your CIs to your template and then save the templates. That's pretty much what the process is. Sounds pretty straightforward, pretty simplified versus what traditionally you might have been doing with your Modeling Studio. And the good part is that if you had modeled your application in your Modeling Studio already, you could actually consume that information in the UCMDB browser. So you don't actually lose all the work that you have done. And you can further enhance those modelings using the browser. So again, the highlights of the steps. So we select the configuration items, identify the templates, add the relationships, save the model, and then validate the topology that whatever changes we made to the model have been saved. With that, I'm going to jump back to our demo environment. So if I go back to my dashboard here, there is a hyperlink on the left-hand side, which is called Start Assisted Modeling. So I can actually start with just blank, selecting my template, or typically how I would actually use it in our use case is I now have an application that has been discovered, and my use case is that now I really want to use that application or to further model that application to a business service. So I'm going to take the approach for Start Assisted Modeling here. And it might take some time to load up my dashboard in here. So let me just refresh. I think there is, it might be something on my dashboard. So yeah, while I'm doing that, I would like to, again, go back to my earlier point where, you know, the entire purpose of the assisted modeling is to map your topology in a way that you want to consume it. And assisted service modeling, I believe, is pretty much replaces or enhances your process, your existing process to your existing processes to kind of model your application. I'm actually going to just try another browser here.
While you're setting up, Sandeep, we do have a few questions. If you want to jump in while you're setting that up, or.
Oh yeah, sure.
Great. I figured it'd take a couple and then let you get organized there a little bit.
Sure.
Let's see. I'll kind of, first of all, thank you for all the questions. Both Shaw and I have just been kind of going through the questions, and we thought we'd take a couple of them and respond to them, and then get back to the demo. The first one is ASM part of Universal Discovery? And the answer is yes. The second question, how is ASM licensed? And I should probably go to Shaw. Are you able to? Are you on?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. You sound great.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So ASM is licensed separately, and if you own UD license, you will get the first 10 model for free. So you can test it out and try it out, and then anything additional would be additional your license that will be added to the contract.
Great. And then what does ASM stand for again? That was one of the questions.
For automated service modeling.
Great, great. And then what technologies are supported by ASM?
There's a good list of it. We continue adding more, right? That's actually one of our top priority as we move into the next couple rounds of releases, is to add more and more content into ASM. Currently, we have ASM supporting things like generic TCP, majority of the application server, Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere, databases, Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, and we have a couple of versions of different load balancers, as well as some of the SQL Server platform.
Wow, very impressive landscape of coverage. Great. This one was a pretty good one, so I'll go ahead and read this one. Do you recommend tracking desktop applications and mapping them in UCMDB? And if we don't map them in UCMDB, do you recommend pushing them to Service Manager or Asset Manager directly?
Right. Right. So this is a common topic that comes up with a lot of customers. Right. The power of UCMDB is about be able to discover and manage its dependencies through application models and mappings. ASM is a technology to allow you to bring that top-down and bottom-up information into one view very quickly, and that model is used to support IT operation. And typically, the critical models that you want to support are the ones that's high-priority application that runs in the data center. So we traditionally ask customer to start with that and focusing on the data center application topology mapping, and use that to feed into service, your ticketing system or your monitoring environment. Desktop application traditionally could be desktop applications traditionally are fairly flat, right? You got a piece of software running on it, maybe connecting to your back end, but typically runs on desktop alone. And those could be tracked and discovered using a discovery through agent-based discovery. And the use case for those would be used to support asset management or inventory and software asset. If you're using universal discovery, obviously that data goes into UCMDB as well, but it's treated as desktop inventory, as an inventory asset. And that information can be then integrated into Asset Manager using our out-of-box integration.
Okay, great. Sandeep, are you ready? Should we pass it back to you, or should we take a couple more questions? Looks like you're ready. Okay.
Yep, I'm actually ready.
Great. So we'll go back to you then. Thanks, Sean.
All right. Thanks, Mark. So we were at the point where for our second use case, to start assisted modeling on our business application, which is I'll relate it back to our business service that I want to be this application part of. So what I do is click on the settings button on my CI and click on assisted modeling. So as soon as I do that, on the right-hand side, I would see that I get another window where I can select my template. And these are the templates that actually will decide what your overall topology of your service would look like in the UCMDB browser. So you have get out of the box templates here, but you could actually create your custom templates as well. So once I did that, I can actually start assisted modeling, and it will actually provide me the topology view for my service. And because I started with the new client, so that's already been selected as a business application. But actually, as I mentioned earlier, you could actually just start blank as well. So once I select the new plans here, on the right-hand side, I get option to add relationships to an existing or new business service. So I'm going to create a new business service on the fly here, and I'm going to name it Plants Service. And once I do that, I can also assign a location CIs as well as ownership on the fly to my business service. So for location, for example, I can select the Paris, and ownership I can give to HP Advantage Inc. And once I've selected all the parameters, I can actually click on apply, and that actually builds my relationship between the business service and the new plans application. So that's the point of using the assisted modeling, where traditionally you might have to go through additional steps in the modeling studio to build something like that. And same thing, I'm going to actually now relate my application and select running software. So for that, I'm just going to click on existing running software. It's going to populate the entire list for all the instances of running software for me, but I can actually filter it out for the one that I'm looking for. So in this case, I will actually just pick up the Oracle Listener software CI for me. So once I've selected all the components of my template, I can click on the Done on the button on the right-hand side and save the model. And with those steps, that's pretty much, you say the topology saved successfully. So now when I'm looking at my business service, client service, as a business service, I would actually see a topology where it is related to the business application, which is running software with the TNS listener. You could actually, there are different templates that are available. So depending upon how advanced you want to go with your application topology model, you could actually pre-select that before you start your assisted modeling. So I'm going to go back to our presentation here. And we'll talk about the results and some of the best practices that we would like to share with you for both of our use cases. So in the first use case, where the top-down automated service model discovery, we definitely recommend creating and maintaining an inventory of your critical top-down service maps. So you're actually you're selecting your applications or services based on your business objectives. So you have the ASM licenses. You probably want to use them wisely. And then identify the target maps and the primary application and the supporting technologies. Just go through the list of the supporting technologies by the latest ASM features. And also select the proper method to do the top-down discovery. We discussed that we could actually start with the URL, or for some of the well-known applications, we do have pre-built perspectives that could be used in order to model your application top-down. And then also evaluating and enhancing the service maps by adding adding service layer or the perspectives that we demonstrated earlier. But I want to drill down further into network layer or to a node or OS layer. So really using those features as a part of your top-down model approach to consume the information is highly recommended. And then also scheduling the automated service maps updates. So by default, the scheduling with the ASM feature is predefined, but you could actually alter that and make sure based on how your business requirements or how dynamic your environments are, you may want to fine-tune those discovery schedules. And then finally, communicate the availability of the service map to the end users who are actually going to consume and get value out of those service maps in different processes within your organization. For the assisted modeling best practices, you set up and maintain the portfolio of your service mesh topology templates. So some of them are available out of the box, but we highly recommend that some of the applications may be topologically different than other applications. So you may want to view those differently, and it really depends upon the end consumer and how they want to look at those application topology. So they might be satisfied with the ones that are available out of the box, or you might have to create your own custom templates, which is pretty straightforward. And then also using the additional information that is available in the CMDB to enhance your modeling activities, because the overall goal of the modeling is to enhance your models further, to have information such as location, who's the owner of the service, what are the different relationships, and how we can actually consume all the CIs together under a same umbrella. So that information should be a part of your overall assisted modeling practice. And also, as I mentioned earlier, leveraging your existing service models in the CUCMDB browser. So you could actually have them in your browser and further modify if there is a requirement to do so, and use and get a higher rate of return on investment. And then also for the automated, for the assisted service maps, you could actually create a scheduling scheme that keeps your maps up to date. And also, finally, the same point, communicate the model enhancements to the end users, so when as they are available. All right, I'll open the floor for the questions if there are any questions that we haven't answered so far.
Great. Great. Actually, we have a lot of questions. There's been a lot of participation, and I have to say thank you so much. You could tell as Sandeep, you gave a great presentation, great demo, and as you're going through the flow of your demo, when you're hitting on the highlights, the questions would just come rattling in. So good interaction, and me see where I should, and Shaw, he's joined us. He's one of the product managers who's been providing some great responses to all the questions. So let's find a couple of highlights here. Shaw, was there some particular ones that maybe you wanted to address in a verbal versus typing it out, because there might be more context there?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. So
yeah. Any particular favorites that you want to grab? And
okay, so there's a couple ones. Right? Just talk a little bit about the ASM architecture, right? So one of the questions was all the underlying CI, such as servers, database, instance, must be discovered ahead of time before it can be modeled. So ASM, the model of ASM is it provides it allows you to kind of link your existing discovery effort with the power of a top-down discovery, right? So if you have current infrastructure already discovered, and you want to simply say, I have an entry point now, and that represents an application, ASM will become a very effective tool to tie these two pieces together. So it will definitely help if you already have environment already discovered, you have spent good amount of investment to do basically data center discovery. But it's not a requirement, right? Because of how you see the demo, when you start with the entry point, ASM piggybacks off the UD Discovery Pro, right? So it uses the same type of triggering mechanism to do spiral discovery. So you will actually trigger from the top down to the next level to go down deeper and discover individual components. Now, with that said, it makes things a little bit slower, because as you go through individual layer, you might require to adding additional credentials or additional things you have to tell ASM to look for. Okay. So that's that question. Okay, so there's a question around the version support for ASM as well as assisted service modeling. So assisted service modeling exists for a couple of versions already. It's really something that was introduced as part of the UCMDB browser capability. So you can use UCMDB browser to actually do assisted service modeling, and that could be done with the 10.11, 10.20, and 10.21 with, I believe, starting from the UCMDB browser 4.0 release. Okay, but ASM was something that was added to support for the 10.20 release, and the latest release of UCMDB is 10.21, which is a minor on top of 10.20, and the ASM package itself is a separate package that you can download from Live Network, and that package will support both 10.20 and 10.21. For example, the demo you saw today, the version of UCMDB is actually running on 10.20.
Great. You just answered like 3 questions. As I was going through picking a question to ask you next, you kind of like answered it.
try to be efficient here.
Yeah. So there's some good ones here. Can ASM be accessed from UCMDB main screen, or is it only from a browser?
Yeah, so that's also a good question. Yes, ASM can also be accessed through the traditional admin UI of the UCMDB.
Great. And then could you let us know if the list out prerequisite for creating service models? Okay, we'll come back to that one. It sounds as if ASM discovery is separate and different from universal discovery. Is this correct?
So there are some things we added in to ASM to do more targeted discovery triggers. But it fundamentally uses the same universal discovery agentless discovery capability.
Okay.
And there's also a question about the browser. Does browser consume a license? So the browser does not consume a license. You can simply get the browser from the HP Live Network and configure that on top of your CMDB.
Great, great. Well, it looks like we're getting to the top of the hour. We've got obviously plenty more questions, but I think what we'll do is we'll respond to those, and then as part of the replay, we'll make the questions and answers available. And then by all means, you can reach out to any one of us to follow up with your discussions and questions. And
so just a question, Mark, when we answer these questions on the question list, after we finish, the user's not going to be able to see it, right? They will have to come back and download the recording, or?
I think we're going to, maybe there's a way we can export it into a text file of some sort and then attach it as part of the PDF when they download it.
Yes, and Mark, just a clarification on that. Anyone that registered for the webinar or that even couldn't attend, they will get a link to the Vivid website, and there will be posted the recording, the PDF of these slides, as well as a written question and answer document that you will provide back to me. That Q&A may be a few days delayed after the recording and the slides, but it will be there for future reference.
Great. Thank you very much. Great. So as we
Mark, before as you get ready to wrap up, I just wanted to thank everyone for attending. Wanted to thank Sandeep for walking through and demonstrating the technology. Mark, appreciate you and Shah going through and helping with the answers to everyone's questions. And I'll turn it over to you to kind of highlight the conclusion here and some of the resources and some of your current promotions that people can get access to.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Shah. You guys, great job today. A lot of great material, amazing technology. The idea behind these webinars was to, go ahead to the next slide. The idea behind these webinars was to not make it a marketing event, but make it a hands-on, useful experience. And we heard our customers from HP Discover. During the roundtables, during the customer advisory boards, they wanted more content. And so we've got a series of webinars. If you like today's discussion and want to do more Q&A, this is right up your alley. These are the ones we have scheduled. And then as we continue to set it up and set up the registration links, we'll keep you abreast as to what's happening. And then these will all parlay into HP Discover, which is, I believe, the next slide, where we have a number of resources to, one, help you convince your manager that HP Discover is where you want to be. So there's some videos, some highlights, top 10 reasons, as well as the attendance letter, so that you can take and modify that letter to your liking. And then the next slide is Vivid, or as part of this, there's some additional resources, brochures, white papers, demos, case studies. These are the links to help get you that information, follow our blogs. And then the last slide here, as part of HP Discover, as a Vivid member, you have a special discount. Use this link as part of your registration process. You'll get the special Vivid rate for HP Discover. And you'll also be able to maybe take some time and check out some of the Vivid breakout sessions. So this concludes our presentation today. Thank you so much for attending. Looking forward to seeing you at the next presentation. And have a great day, evening, or morning.